Here's a real North Face fleece. In like-new condition, it resells for around £58. In good condition, around £37. Same jacket, same brand, a gap of more than a third. In the next few minutes, what actually drives second-hand value? A real-world example using researched UK pricing data, and the exact checklist to run before you hit publish. Most people price their Vinted listings on instinct, roughly what they paid, minus a bit for wear, rounded to something that feels safe. That instinct is almost always slightly off. Some follow the Vinted pricing recommendation, but that can undercook what your item is actually worth. Price too low and the item doesn't sell any faster, it just sells for less. Whoever would have paid more never got the chance to. Price is also a signal. Two identical jackets, one at £15 and one at £55, and buyers often assume that the cheap one has something wrong with it. Nobody wants a listing sitting unsold for months, so the instinct is to guess low and hope. Completely understandable, just not how you get paid what the item's worth. Here's the trap. Browsing Vinted only shows you listed prices. A jacket listed at £90 just means that someone hopes for £90. It tells you nothing about what it actually sells for. 4 things that move the real number: the brand, the category, the condition it's actually in, and, if you know it, the exact model. Get those 4 right and you're pricing from data, not a gut feeling. Some brands hold their value far better than others. North Face and Levi's command real resale prices. Own label high street pieces usually don't. Category matters too. Outerwear holds value better than basics. Certain trainer models barely depreciate at all. Occasion wear from high street brands typically loses most of its value fast. And within a brand, the exact model changes everything. A Levi's 501 sells differently to a Levi's 721. Naming it properly is part of pricing it properly. Same logic elsewhere. A named North Face Snoop tees doesn't sell like a generic puffer with no model attached, if you know what you're holding, so say it in the title. So let's price something real. Here's a North Face Denali fleece. Genuinely common on Vinted, and a clean test case for how much condition alone can move a number. Here's what the UK secondhand market actually pays for it, condition by condition, based on some real research, not guesses. New with tags around £89, like new £58, good £37, fair £24 and poor £14. Look at that jump from like new to good. £21, more than a third of the value, often for nothing worse than a bit of bobbling or a faded logo. Vinted's grades run from new with tags down to poor, and the difference between the adjacent grades is rarely just cosmetic. It's real money every single time. That's why grading it honestly matters both ways. Call it like new when it's really good and risk a dispute or a refund. Call it good when it's genuinely like new and you've just given away 20 quid. This is where Worthmore does the work. Pick a category, 2 taps, set the brand and the condition, and Larky hands back a price guide in about 30 seconds built from real UK research data. No scrolling 40 listings trying to average a number in your head, no gut feeling, just a reference point before you've written a single word of the listing. Now, the listing price itself matters just as much. On Vinted, buyers can send offers, and a lot of them do, so it pays to price knowing that's coming. Price with zero room to move, and the only outcomes are full price or no sale. Price with a small buffer instead, 10 to 15% above where you'd genuinely be happy, and you've got somewhere to go. Accepting a reasonable offer feels generous to the buyer and still gets you the number you actually wanted. That's not padding the price, that's just leaving room to negotiate. Now, one more thing buyers are already doing before they tap buy. The maths that you as a seller might not have done yourself. On Vinted, sellers pay nothing to list or sell. Buyers pay your price plus a 5% buyer protection fee plus 70p, plus the postage on top. On a £10 item, that fee alone adds around £1.20, over 10% before postage is even counted. It's a big part of why very cheap listings can sit unsold for weeks. Postage adds to that same total and buyers see the full number before they commit. So an accurate price, and not the lowest possible price, is what actually gets a sale over the line. Pricing accurately, so the number reflects genuine value, tends to work better than pricing rock bottom and hoping the fees don't put people off. Before you list, look up the exact model name. It's usually printed inside the waistband or the collar. Levi's jeans and Levi's 501 are not the same listing to a buyer who knows what they want. Measure it yourself rather than trusting the label. Sizing shifts across brands, decades and production runs. An actual waist measurement in the title turns browsers into buyers. Photograph what people actually worry about: the linings and zips on jackets, knees and inner thigh on jeans, underarms and cuffs on knitwear. Hiding those spots makes people nervous, not confident. None of this needs a proper camera. Good natural light and a plain background do more for buyer confidence than any editing app. Back to that Denali. Honestly, graded as good. Brand North Face, category fleece, condition good. Larky's guide comes back at around £37. That's not a guess, and it's not a round number that felt safe. It's an actual reference point built from what the jacket really sells for. Here's one for the comments. What's been sat unsold in your wardrobe the longest, and what do you actually think it is worth? Tell me below, we read every one. Now, quick recap. Brand, category, condition and model set the real price. Grade honestly. Leave room to negotiate. Know the buyer's real total and check the number before you list, not after. That Denali joins the nest. And if you want to check your own pile before you list, the price guides are linked below. See you in the next one.